Hi, folks. This is Jason. Hope you're okay today. It's good to be with you. My website is jasonburnspreacher.com. jasonburnspreacher.com. My website is jasonburnspreacher.com. It's good to be with you. I want to talk about university and non-platforming. I've mentioned this a year ago. I've mentioned it a few months ago, and I'm going to mention it again. I'm going to mention it because it's so important in today's modern Western society. For a long time, I've been complaining and saying that the West is collapsing. And my evidence for this is university non-platforming. We're living in the darkest days of Western civilization, where free speech is rapidly being taken away from us. And we can see that no more than on university campuses. There are student unions that are stopping people who have tremendous academic ability. We might not agree with their views, but they're stopped. They're stopped from allowing to give lectures or talks or debates on opposing views. This is a travesty of democracy. It is, and I can only say, one of the great crises of Western civilization. When students are acting more like Nazis rather than actual Democrats, we're living in dark days. Now, I've mentioned in the past, and I'll mention again, how Germaine Greer stopped her free speech on a university campus, intimidated by students. And I could go on and on and on, such as Manchester University, who has a track record of stopping free speech. We're living in terrible, terrible, dark times. The transgender community, the LGBT community, and the feminist community on university campuses are acting more like Stalinist interrogators who do not want anybody to have any opposing views than them. And so lecturers and debaters and people who have general academic ability are invited to give lectures and debates and discussions by students, and yet they are stopped because of these groups who claim to be acting on behalf of all students, which is not true. They are only representing a small minority of students. They are not representing all students. They're not representing the Muslim students. They're not representing the Christian students. They're not representing the Jewish students or the Hindu students, etc., etc. But they hold their student union nationally and on student campuses individually as if they are the prevailing voices on those universities, as if the universities themselves are owned by the LGBT community, or they are owned by the transgender community. They are not owned by the transgender community or the LGBT community. The universities are for all students. They are for Christian students, for Muslim students, for Buddhist students. They are for Jewish students and Hindu students, and the LGBT students, and the gay, and the transgender students. The university is for all students and all student groups. And yet this small minority have stopped people from coming on university campuses, MPs, lecturers, academics, who've been invited by students who they want to hear, students want to hear the opposing views, the opposing ideas, but they've been intimidated. And we get insane YouTube bloggers, such as Essence of Thought, who make horrendous, absolutely horrendous statements, as equating LGB and transgender views with six-day creationism, which is outrageous, absolutely outrageous, and saying that unless you come up with evidence for six-day creation, you should not be allowed on the university campuses to debate. Absolute nonsense. Number one, most universities would be fine about a debate with a six-day creationist. Number two, these are extra curriculums. These invitations often is not actually the curriculum of the universities. So it's extra curriculum where students are, they might have a pub quiz or they might organize a debate. And people like Essence of Thought saying that if we invite people with different opinions to us, then we'll lower the academic opinion or the academic standards is absolute nonsense. I agree with Noel Plum 99 or whatever, a couple of videos that he's made on university non-platforming. Some of the ideas that I'm giving you here, I've taken from his video because it was a very very, very good videos that he made, highly entertaining, and I would encourage you to go to his YouTube channel. But I was talking about this long before No Plum 99, and I said these things a couple of years ago, and I've said them a few months ago. But if you want to get more of an understanding of these kind of issues and debates and discussion and more in depth, go to No Plum 99. But the point is that I've said for a number of years, and I've claimed for a number of years, that Western civilization is in free fall, is collapsing. And I've said the heart of it is this intolerance and this falling and destroying of free speech, the realization that they're taking away a public space from being inclusive. And so we have a small minority of people who have taken it upon themselves to think for everybody else, and like a police force, an intellectual police force. We see this in politics, but we also see it in the universities. So any other group, a Christian group, who might disagree, would be wanting to close down. There are actually student unions that have been fighting for their life. Christian student unions have been fighting for their life to be kept open on university campuses, because the university campuses wanted to close them down. And it's disgraceful. I think those who engage in university non-platforming are self-righteous, self-appointed, narrow-minded bigots. And this political correctness that we see around today is but narrow-minded bigotry, dressed up as free thinking and free thought and freedom. But what it is, it's narrow-minded bigotry, because what it is you get people saying, they get angry at you and say, well, you can't say this, you can't be against transgender, or you can't be against being gay, and you can't be against this or that, and they get angry with you because they believe that everybody has a right, everybody has an opinion, and they have an opinion, you have an opinion, and so you should respect their opinion about gay rights or transgender rights. So they want to shut you down and stop your opinion, stop your view, contradicting what they're saying. If they believe in free speech, if they believe in everybody has a right, then why don't you just let the other person have the right to believe and think differently from what your position is? The second thing is that when you ask them to defend your position intellectually, defend your gay rights intellectually, defend your transgender rights intellectually, give us an intellectual defense. I found 90.9% of people who are gay or transgender, when you're asked, defend it intellectually, you have not been able to give me an intellectual defense. So what we're seeing is really narrow-minded and bigotry. Oh, you're homophobic, or you're transgender, you're against transgender, oh, you evil people. Well, okay. Well, you give me an intellectual defense of this position. What is your position? How do you defend it intellectually? No defense. I'm angry at you. You should respect what I believe. Therefore, you're wrong. I don't have to give any arguments for it. I don't have to give any evidence for it. It's just the way it is. And so what you're doing is you're setting yourself up as a postmodernist dogmatist, where no one can challenge you, because if a lecturer is invited by students, as No Plum 99 would say, invited by students, you deny them that right to debate. You deny them the right to discuss. So you're doing exactly what you would say, the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages, where it muted all opposition intellectually in order to propound its view. You're doing exactly what the Chairman Mao did, where any opposition was muted. No intellectual voices apart from the communist voice was allowed. You're doing exactly the same as the ones that you accuse. You accuse the Christians of being homophobic and narrow-minded and bigoted, and yet you're doing exactly the same, because you are not allowing on the university campuses, but using this university non-platforming mechanism. You're using that as a Stalinist mechanism to mute opposition, to mute any intellectual discussion, to mute anybody that will challenge your point of view or give a different point of view to you. And you're doing it on the basis that you think that you are speaking for all students, and you're not. You're only speaking for a small minority of students. And it is endemic of modern intellectual discourse in Western civilization. And it's been there for a long time, for a good number of years now. It's endemic where there is a postmodern dogmatism that's around, coupled with a modernist dogmatism. We have the postmodern dogmatism of these LGB and these transgendered people, both in America and the UK. And then we have a modernist dogmatism by people like Richard Dawkins. You cannot challenge Dawkins. If you challenge him or any of his pit bulls, you're seen as anti-intellectual. Any academic, any premier philosopher, any thinker that might challenge the macroevolution is seen as an idiot or a fool and not even worthy of academic respect. It's sheer modernist dogmatism, hankered down with anti-intellectualism and overt irrationalism. It is the signs of a culture that is not strong intellectually. It is a sign of a culture that is at death row, is on the very foundation of intellectual and cultural death. You cannot vigorously debate your position and hold your position. Then you as a civilization have lost what you was about. And that's what we see in Western culture, Western civilization. The cloud, the dark cloud of irrationalism has descended upon us. And we see it being outplayed in the university campuses, where university non-platforming is taking place. And we've seen political non-platforming taking place, where UKIP is marginalized and said as racist, when many ordinary people agreed with the issue of immigration. They were they had these intellectual elites and the cultural elites of our nation, and in America as well. But in terms of UKIP, the cultural elites that looked down on anybody who differed from them. And in fact, we've had the Brexit and we've had the vote out, but we still have those who voted in, who feel they're superior and who feel that they will creep back and take back what the referendum has brought by secretly overturning it. And we're seeing that with the absolute arrogance of Nicola Sturgeon, sheer arrogance of the dogmatism of the age that says it believes in equality and equal rights for gay people and equal rights for everybody. But yet when the ordinary masses, and which they have been involved with, they entered into the referendum. Nicola Sturgeon in Scotland entered into the referendum. And then when it doesn't go their way, they throw the cards up on the table, off the table, and say, oh, we're not going to play your ball, and then try to overturn the masses, the ordinary people. That is the dogma of the age that we live in. We live in a dark age, not an enlightened age. We live in a barbaric age, not in an enlightened age. We live in an age that has taken away free speech, where your conscience cannot be free to believe what you want. But if you believe, you say what you believe. The thought polices of the Stalinist students, of the LGB, and of the transgender brigade will not let you come and give debate. Even when you're invited by students, academics who, if you mention something on Facebook because you don't agree with gay rights, you can be struck off your coursework, which has happened. You can't even talk to people on the street because people are fearful of actually saying what they believe because they might be reported to the police. That's the kind of society that we've now got to the point where it's all PC, politically correct. And it's just another name for postmodern dogmatism, for postmodernists who sit on the high throne, who try to think for us and try to tell us how to think. But I'm captured by this, my friend. I'm not bound by postmodernism. I'm not bound by it. I'm bound by the Bible, my Bible. I am bound by my Bible, and my conscience is held captive by the Bible. And in my Bible, it tells me what to believe about morality. And it doesn't agree with LGB, and it doesn't agree with transgender views, because in Romans chapter 1, it says very clearly that it's opposed to such ideas. In Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1. How hypocritical of a modern society in America and the UK that claims to be democratic but will not allow people on university campuses to have a different view. Another example is Ravi Zacharias. Ravi Zacharias is an excellent Christian apologist. Tremendous mind, tremendously cultured, tremendously educated, a man of great ability. He's been on record to say how he has been heckled and shouted down when he's gone to give a lecture at university, and he's seen a marked change in universities where there is tremendous intolerance and hostility towards him. This is the dark ages that we're living in. There'll be a day when street preaching and preaching will be stopped. There'll be a day when churches will be forced to teach LGBT views and transgender views. The church will be forced, whether they like it or not, to change. And if they don't change, the churches will be closed down. Even the government has passed recommendation and laws where churches or any groups that are teaching religion over 6 hours in the UK have to report what they're teaching. That is the end of democracy. It's the end of freedom when people are being controlled like that. But it's systemic in the universities. The cancer of postmodern dogmatism is at the very heart of the universities of Great Britain and America. There is no intellectual freedom anymore. There is only crackpots in the top echelons of the academic universities of Britain who are running the show, who think they're speaking for everybody when they're not. They're just speaking for minorities. And they're crackpots. They're so dumb and so stupid that they would have Zakir Naik in Oxford filmed in a discussion from wherever he was abroad and giving him freedom to speak in the university. A person who is well known for saying that he doesn't believe in free speech, that Christians should not have free speech in Muslim countries, and yet he is given freedom at Oxford, and yet Oxford has more ragbag postmodern dogmatists down there than at Cambridge. At least Cambridge has some wisdom. At least Cambridge is at least holding up some kind of beacon of hope. At least Cambridge is holding up the grand intellectual tradition of the West. At least Cambridge is doing something. At least Cambridge is promoting what should be promoted, which is fair academic discussion and debate, and has continued that grand tradition. But she is only one in the vast majority. She is a light in a place where there is darkness, where Oxford is a dark place, where most of the universities in the West are dark places. But at least Cambridge has some enlightened academics that will make a stand. Enlightened students that know better. Oh, Cambridge, where art thou? At least Cambridge says, here we stand for freedom of debate and discussion. The whole university system of the UK needs to be shut down. The whole university academic system of the students, needs to be shut down. The Student Union of England needs to be closed down. It needs to be closed down. And a new one needs to be started. One that is much more fair and representative of the whole students of the United Kingdom, of England and the United Kingdom, where Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and Jews are fairly represented on that body, as well as atheists and agnostics, as well as LGBT, and as well as transgender. So that it's a fair representation of the nation and a fair representation of all the different views. And when academics are invited to debate or discuss or give lectures, then the whole student body of all the different views can meet and discuss and decide whether it's wise or not. Because university space is not just for one group of students. It's for all groups of students. Those are my thoughts. I think university non-platforming is absolutely disgusting. It is disgraceful. The Manchester University and any university that actually indulges in it is an absolute disgrace to Western civilization and Western democracy, and is an absolute disgrace on Western academic life. And any university that puts up with this is an absolute disgrace. You should be ashamed of yourself. If you've ever tolerated university non-platforming, you should be disgusted with such behavior. Both in America and in the UK and anywhere else in Europe, you should be absolutely disgusted by it, because it is only a mechanism just like the magisterium of the Catholic Church, just like the communist, the way they manipulate people, control people in communist China and Russia. That's all it is. It's just a control mechanism where it's the beginning of totalitarianism, where any other opinion that they don't like is muted and destroyed. You see, I believe passionately that a gay person has a right to free speech. They want to come in the city center and tell their views, let them, I don't mind. I believe a transgender student group, if they want to come into Manchester or any other city and talk about their views, I don't mind. If atheists want to come into the city center and talk about their atheism, or Muslims or Hindus or Jews, I'm all for it, and I'm all for students in universities, whether they're gay, lesbian, transgender, Muslim, Jew, whoever you are. If you want to organize a debate and a discussion and invite an academic or a politician to come and debate and discuss, I'm all for it, whoever you are. So long as you respect everybody else's right to have discussion. So there is a limit, there is responsibility for freedom. For example, I would not agree for an Al-Qaeda representative to come in and give a lecture or a talk. Blowing people up is okay. There is a limit to freedom. There has to be responsibility. But within reason, there is a vast amount of freedom that should be had for all students, including LGBT and transgender. If they want to debate, they should be allowed to debate. All right. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.